This is the ASUS ProArt P16, and it's a laptop designed for creators. Now, there are a lot of products these days that tout designed for creators, but what does that mean? What does this laptop have that makes it creator friendly? Well, ASUS sponsored this showcase where I will run through everything the P16 has to offer, and to see how this laptop handles in the real world, we are going to take a 250 megapixel photo that I've wanted to shoot for a while, and we'll see how the P16 handles it. This video isn't a review, but I hope my experience here gives you an idea if the P16 is the right laptop for you. Let's get started. When I first opened up the P16, I was immediately struck by the minimalist design and its lightweight feel. This is a really good looking laptop. The body is made from high quality CNC'd aluminum that feels both sturdy and smooth to the touch. If you want a Windows parallel to a MacBook, the P16 feels like a worthy contender. Now, what makes this a creator friendly laptop? Well, for starters, the unit I have here is the top of the line spec version with a Ryzen AI 9 HX370 processor with 12 cores and 24 threads. It clocks up to 5.1 gigahertz with a 70-watt TDP. For the GPU, we have an NVIDIA RTX 4070 with 8 gigs of VRAM, a MediaTek Wi-Fi 7 card, which is replaceable, an impressive 64 gigs of LPDDR5X RAM at 7500 megatransfers per second. The RAM is soldered in, so I'd personally suggest going with the 64 gig model if you can swing it, because that will give you plenty of memory over the entire life of this laptop. For storage, we have an internal 2TB Gen 4 NVMe SSD with an optional expansion slot if you want to upgrade later down the line. The internals of the P16 packs quite a bit of power in a relatively lightweight package, coming in at around 4 pounds. This makes it relatively low friction to pack in a bag and do some mobile work, without really sacrificing that much in terms of what kinds of work you can do. If you are a creator that travels a lot, you will probably appreciate this balance. Since starting this channel, I find myself changing up the environment I work in depending on the kind of work I am doing. Living with the P16 over the last month, it's been noticeably easier and more enjoyable to bring around than my much heavier Dell XPS 15. Because I also always carry a camera setup with me everywhere I go, any amount of weight I can save on a daily basis makes a huge difference. For I/O, the P16 is fairly fully featured. On the left, we have the DC power connector, HDMI 2.1 port, USB 4.0 Gen 3 Type-C for display and power delivery, a full-size USB 3.2 Gen 2 Type-A, and a 3.5mm headphone microphone combo jack. On the right, we have a full-size SD card slot, which I love to see, another USB 3.2 Gen 2 Type-A, and a 10 gigabit Type-C port. This loadout of I/O should suit the needs of most creative professional tasks. It's particularly nice to see that you don't lose a port for your power brick like you do on other laptops that have only Type-C ports. Around the front, we have a comfortable tactile keyboard that feels really nice to type on. The trackpad on the P16 is nice and large, and it also integrates ASUS's dial that you swipe down diagonally to activate, and then you can use this for a variety of tasks in different creative applications. It's also programmable to whatever custom functions you want if you find something missing in the default controls ASUS has already set up. The P16 has a 6-speaker array, 3 on each side of the keyboard, and while I am not an audiophile, these are some of the best sounding laptop speakers that I have ever encountered on a Windows laptop. For casual listening, these will definitely do the trick. Last but not least, the P16 has a 4K 3840 by 2400 OLED display that boosts 400 nits in SDR and up to 500 nits peak brightness in HDR. Now, there is one caveat: it's only 60 Hz. This is likely a trade-off ASUS chose to make to get a 4K OLED laptop display. Thankfully, it also covers 99% Adobe RGB and 100% DCI P3. If you're used to 90 to 120 Hz or more, it's possible this will bother you. I will note, however, that if you are largely doing work like photo editing or color grading, trading refresh rate for a 4K OLED display that looks this good and manages to be color accurate may just be worth it depending on your needs. This display is also a touchscreen, and there is an optional ASUS pen that you can use with the P16 if you want to do precision work directly on the display. This pen actually works surprisingly well for brushwork in Lightroom, and when used in combination with the ASUS dial to change different settings precisely, I can actually see myself using both of these together quite often. I'll note though that the hinge can have some minor wobble when using the pen if you are pressing too rapidly. The webcam is adequate, especially if you're in a well-lit environment, and the built-in microphone sounds decent if you don't want to use any additional gear for online calls and meetings. Now that we've gone over the design and specs, let's try making something with the P16. For a long time, I've wanted to take a photo in one of the best spots in Vancouver, the Lionsgate Bridge. The issue I faced is I've never been able to go there at the perfect time of day for the shot I see in my head. That is, until today. If you do landscape or city photography, you'll know that the time of day that you shoot your image is probably the most important factor in whether or not you get the photo that you want. The question we need to answer then is, how do you know the exact time of day to be in the spot you want to shoot in? Thankfully, there is a tool you can use to time your photo to the exact hour you'll need to be in the location to get the look that you want. The best part is you don't even need to leave your house to figure this out, and this also works at any time of year. What's the tool? It's Google Earth Pro. Let me show you. Once you have Google Earth Pro installed, you go up to the search bar and type in the location that you want to shoot in. In my case, I wanted to go to Prospect Point in Stanley Park in my city of Vancouver. Then it will give you a 3D view of the input location. From there, I position my view from roughly the direction I think I'll want to shoot in. Once that is set, I'll go up to the top bar and press this little sun icon with the horizon. A slider will pop up at the top left corner. Then from there, you can cycle through different times of day to find the lighting that you want for your shot and exactly what time of day that you'll need to be there for it. In my case, I wanted the bridge to be backlit by the sun, so for the shot I've wanted, I would probably want to arrive at Prospect Point at about 5:30 a.m. to give myself just enough time to set up before the sun came up. Once I knew this, I picked the clearest day within the same week, which ended up being a Sunday morning. I got up at 4:30 a.m. and headed to Prospect Point for a chance to grab this photo. I could not have asked for better conditions that day to take this photo. It's been a while since I caught a morning sunrise, and even if I didn't get the photo that I wanted during this outing, experiencing sunrise in this spot was an amazing way to start the day. Doing stuff like this is a huge reason why I love photography and making videos. It's the kind of experience that always keeps me inspired to keep creating. I had two kinds of photos I was looking for during this sunrise. The first one was a standard horizontal panorama made up of about 5 to 10 photos. Then I wanted to attempt a super high resolution bokeh-rama, also known as the Brennheiser method. For anyone who has never tried this technique before, you set a telephoto lens, usually 50mm or more, to manual focus, set your focus point, and manually lock your exposure settings. Then once you have an idea of an overall larger image that you want to take, you can then start taking photos as if each photo you take is a puzzle piece that will make up your larger photo that you stitch together in post. You'll want to make sure there is overlap between each puzzle piece photo. I conservatively aim for about 50% overlap between each photo to make sure you don't leave any gaps in your image when you put it together. The main challenge with this technique is that you can never be 100% certain you got your photo perfect until you put it together in post, which is also part of the fun of doing it to begin with. I enjoyed about 2 hours trying different variations of these shots as the sun came up. Once I was done, I was super excited to stitch these photos together. The advantage of working on this on a well-spec'd laptop like the P16 is I didn't have to wait till I got home to attempt stitching the photos together. I was able to try it right away. I first tried the easier 5 to 10 photo panoramic shot, and the P16 processed the shot super quickly and without any hitches. I then attempted a 100 photo stitch to see how the P16 would handle it. Processing a preview of this stitch was a very RAM heavy task. I'm glad the P16 offers a 64 gig model because we definitely used it for this photo. The preview render took about 34 minutes with a final render taking an additional 60 minutes. Once the bokeh-rama was rendered within Lightroom, we ended up with an image that was just shy of 250 megapixels, which I am pretty happy with. Considering how high resolution this photo was, the P16's editing performance was solid. This is also where the ASUS dial feels like it makes a ton of sense because within Lightroom, you can look at the image at the same time as adjusting settings to see your changes as you make them. This is a subtle but super satisfying difference between just adjusting these sliders with a mouse, then looking at each setting change after. Here's a look at the final photos I got that morning. The thing I love most about this technique, especially taken to an extreme like this, is just how much you can punch in on detail in this image because every piece of it is its own 26 megapixel photo. If you've never tried this, I encourage you to do it. NVIDIA made some pretty bold performance claims during CES this year.
RTX 5070, 4090 performance.
I know it may feel tempting to just jump to a laptop with the latest 50 series hardware. However, at the time of making this video, it isn't fully clear whether or not the performance improvements will be significant enough to consider the upgrade for creator workloads. The one thing I do think you should ask yourself is, what is your actual workload demand on a day-to-day basis? And how does that relate to how much you value the creator-focused design elements of a laptop like the P16? If you aren't the kind of person who jumps to the latest and greatest hardware anyway, then whatever marginal performance improvement the 50 series brings may not be worth it for you. Having the newest hardware isn't always a better experience. I hope this video gave you an idea of if the ASUS P16 is the right laptop for you. If you want to learn more about the P16, you can check out the first link in the video description. I hope you have a great day.